All right, how's it going, everybody? It is the Awesemo.com NHL DFS Strategy Show. We've got a Big Ten gamer to discuss for tonight. Hopefully, you had some success on the two gamer last night. If not, it is a new day. This is Daily Fantasy Sports, and so we're back at it again. Nolan, how you doing?
Going on? I'm just watching the first NFL trade of the new calendar year, I believe, go down.
Anything good happen?
AJ Bouye to the Denver Broncos. That Jags D is decimated. Is
Well,
it
there you
football
go.
season yet, Jake? Let's go.
Yeah, I'd be up for some showdown NFL right about now.
Right?
We got a full baseball season to get through before we
Oh my
can get to
God.
that. And that's just the biggest grind. So, actually, speaking of baseball, we will have some pretty cool content again. A lot of the stuff you guys are used to. If you're thinking about subscribing for MLB, you will have more details to come in the next coming weeks. We're trying to finalize everything. So bear with us. I know some people have asked about those packages already, but those will be available pretty soon. So just be on the lookout for that. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports is the presenting sponsor of the Awesemo.com NHL DFS Strategy Show. Yahoo is one of the most trusted names in fantasy sports, and they're bringing the heat as always in these NBA contests, 5K to first, basically on a nightly basis in these contests. And the great thing about Yahoo is that you're going to get lower management fees. They call it rake on other sites. Yahoo calls it management fees. It's all the same thing, and Yahoo just makes you pay less to play on their site, which is awesome. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, you're not going to run into a lot of other pros on the other sites. Specifically on Yahoo, you only see a few when you scroll through, and that's great for people trying to increase their long-term ROI. Use promo code Awesemo to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points when you do sign up with your initial deposit over on Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Today for free, we have the NHL DFS rankings, player and stack rankings. So you see how Alex has it all broken down. Top point values, top raw point getters, value on DK, value on FanDuel, their power play and line designation, team total, all the good stuff, and then stacks as well. Can't forget about stacks. NHL is a stacking sport, so you're going to want to check these out if you're thinking about getting a package. This would be a great way to get a peek behind the paywall for today. How did last night go for you, Nolan?
Oh, I was in contention until McDavid went off, and then it all went to hell because I had McKinnon over McDavid. What about yourself?
Yeah, I had a lot of McKinnon and apparently not enough Draisaitl and McDavid and Josh Archibald. I kind of trashed him on the show yesterday, so I'm surprised no one's
Well,
brought that up in chat yesterday. But
in your defense, it is Josh Archibald.
he did stick with McDavid the whole game, which I didn't think was going to happen. So I was just flat wrong on that. He was in the winning lineup just to twist the knife a little bit. McDavid, Draisaitl, Archibald, Yamamoto, Nugent Hopkins, Darnell Nurse. Pretty big performance out of Edmonton 1, Edmonton 2, Edmonton power play. If you had McDavid and Draisaitl, you weren't necessarily thinking anything with those two alone because they were pretty popular. But if you had some of these other pieces, the Yamamotos, the Archibalds, it's a pretty low scoring game in the other game. So if you faded McKinnon, that means you probably had one of McDavid or Draisaitl on your lineup, and you were doing pretty well. 58.5 points from Leon Draisaitl. I think he had a 6-point night. That'll do the trick. I wish it wasn't on a 2-game slate, but that's what we had last night. Was not a great night for a lot of the MMEers. As you see, only one person that had 100 lineups or more profited, and so it wasn't great for people
Damn.
that are stacking. So, well, I mean, to be fair, there was like 10 or so people that put in 100 to 132 lineups. So
Does that mean though that like a lot of these guys are following the exact same principles and that, if you're single bulleting, maybe you figure out what these principles are and you don't do that and you can gain a leverage on the 500 lineups from pros?
yeah,
Or
I
is
mean,
that just a crazy strategy?
no, that's not a crazy strategy. I think just going off the board in general on a two gamer, like basically anything's in play, and it's like we talked about with like Showdown as well.
Yeah.
Like just so much stuff is viable. Like making suboptimal plays is viable. And because suboptimal plays can oftentimes mean that might be a good tournament strategy if you're playing the ownership game, which you probably
Yep.
should be doing in a variance-based sport like NHL. So I don't know, but I think the play style is really different between some of these guys that you're seeing here that did multi-enter including myself. Alex has a little bit of a different strategy in NHL. B. Kreider, Testosterone. I mean, bunch of dollar bill, a bunch of different strategies that you're going to see across all those guys. So I don't know. I mean, if you could figure out a way to get different than all of them with all their lineups, then by
Good
all
luck
means,
with that.
figure
Each
that
one
out.
has like kind of its own unique strategy, but they're all sort of based in correlation, I guess.
Yep, for sure. So going lighter on correlation, maybe on a 2-game slate,
Yeah.
could certainly do the trick. If you guys could drop a like to start off the stream, get it rolling, that would be fantastic. That does help us continue to do this kind of content for free. You guys know the spiel, but we do have to continue to build up our likes and get us in the YouTube algorithm somehow. It just helps us out. So please do that if you do appreciate the content. And then if you want to see what else we've got going on, make your way over to the Awesemo_com Twitter account. We do still have the podcast giveaway going on right now, where if you go to iTunes and subscribe and then rate and review, you will have a chance to win a free Awesemo Plus monthly pass. So go do that. Again, if you like the content, it would help us out regardless, and you got a chance to win a monthly pass, which is pretty cool as well. 10 games. Let's get into it. Let's start with Montreal and the New York Islanders. 2.5 implied total for the Canadians. 3 for the Islanders. Carey Price and Thomas Greiss are your goalies. Do we see any changes here to start out with?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I was looking at this one this morning. I think the Islanders skated this morning. I can't remember if Montreal did. But basically the same top 9 that I'm seeing from everywhere. Low total game. Hard to love anything in this game. I actually, the Islanders won. They're a little bit more popular than I would have thought on a 10-game slate. Like, I thought they'd be like maybe 2-3% owned, and at least over on DraftKings. But it looks like they're getting a little bit more ownership than I anticipated. So that's probably my favorite line in this game. I think the Nelson Beauvillier Komarov line will see the most time against the Notes Tar Gallagher. If you wanted to go to just a really good line on a big slate in Montreal 1, that would be fine by me, especially in multi-entry formats. But the line I'll probably have the most of in this game is Islanders 1. Hoping they can see some time against the Domi line and maybe the Suzuki line and kind of avoid Montreal 1, so avoid strength on strength here. And I think if you're going really deep, maybe some Montreal 3. They have really good numbers in a short sample, and they're super cheap, and you got a guy in Domi that gets power play time. Same thing with Wheel. Just a super deep third line.
It's the Cliffy line right there.
Yeah, they've been pretty good so far. Limited sample, but what do you like here?
Yeah, I don't. I wasn't super excited about either one. I mean, like we've talked about the Tatar Gallagher line ad nauseum this year. Some of the best numbers for a line in terms of expected goals for of any line this season. I think they're number 1, minimum like 500 minutes or something, 400 minutes or whatever, or maybe less than that. But like it's showing up as like a decent value and going slightly under owned, both that and then Islanders. I think a bit more expensive, but also decent value and going under owned. So. I think both are fine plays. I'm not like using them as like core plays or anything like that. Like maybe get a couple of shares of each in 20 max.
Yeah, exactly. There would be more secondary plays for me. I don't see any like top 3 or 4 exposed lines for me in this game. And same thing goes with defensemen. Petrie looks okay to me at 4,800 if you're playing Montreal 1. But it would be more just correlating a D-man if you want to go Devin Tays with Islanders 1. But none of these guys individually really stick out to me very much. So if you got anything else, feel free to add in. Otherwise, we can move it on to the next game.
Yeah, Petrie, I guess, is in. I think there was something about him that he might miss this game. But I think as well, Petrie, if you want to get a little creative, Petrie with your Montreal 1 stacks, he is quarterbacking that top power play unit, and you have full correlation. Not too many people are going to go with four of those guys tonight. And Islanders, I think, what are they for PK? I think they're like middle of the pack kind of thing. So nothing crazy, but usually quite often the Islanders have been bailed out by some pretty good goaltending performances this year. So if they don't get one of those, then that could be not a bad stat.
Yep, I like it. All right, let's go to the Blues and the Rangers. 3.2 implied total for the Blues, 2.9 for the Rangers. Binnington and Georgiev on the Rangers side. Any new lines here?
I don't think so. Did you see anything?
I don't see anything, and I don't
You
remember
just
anything from
asked
this morning.
the way you asked that. I was like,
No,
oh,
no,
did I miss something? Blues
I try
though.
to switch
Colton
it up, you
Parayko.
know.
Colton Parayko might be out tonight. I think he's a game time decision, so I have to wait on that one. I think like if he doesn't go, 5,100, not a bad price for a guy getting 25 minutes a game who's had some monster games
Mm,
recently. So kind of like that, almost no ownership in large GPPs. If he doesn't go, Justin Falk or Vince Dunn are probably the best pivot
mm,
plays. You're going to see some increased minutes for either of those guys. Maybe I think both are on the power play too, or Petrangelo. I think probably becomes a bit better of a play as well. 6K, you know he's going to be getting close to 30 minutes, if 27, something like that, if
yeah,
he doesn't go. So
yeah.
just throwing that out there.
No, I like the call on Petrangelo, especially. I think it'll be increased minutes around for guys like Petrangelo, Dunn, and Falk, as you mentioned. So I'm with you there. I like Petrangelo a lot for 6K. Just going, this not being a home game for the Blues and having kind of a middling total. They're not the most dynamic offense, but I still think you can like generate a ton of chances against either of these Rangers' top two lines. So something like, I think we lost Nolan there for a second. Did your camera go up? Yeah, I think it did. All right, we'll bring him back in just a second. Um, Something like St. Louis 1 plus Petrangelo seems like a pretty good way to go for me. I don't really love the matchup for anything on the Rangers side. The Blues are just a really, really tough matchup. These top two lines, really, all four lines for the Blues are pretty viable. I shouldn't say viable for DFS, but they are not great matchups. And Zibanejad usually gets top competition. Phil DiGiuseppe up on the top line, if that's going to be a thing, is not great. Did you mention the Rangers lines here with DiGiuseppe up top? Is that going to be a
Wasn't he
thing?
on there last game though? Or oh, it's like in place of Kreider?
Yeah.
I believe he was. Yeah, he was. It was a morning game though. That's why.
Oh, okay, okay. I couldn't remember that one, but
Yeah.
that makes sense. So without Kreider, Buchnevich does probably get a boost for 4,200, but really not a spot where I'm looking to target a lot here for the Rangers side. You got anything on them you like?
No, but I do like the Blues. Sorry, I missed what you said there, but I
Blues
do
one?
like the. I can't. I think the Blues are way underpriced tonight,
Yeah.
and surprised that they're not getting a ton of ownership. Like it's pretty flat ownership. So that's probably my favorite value stack of the night. I really don't understand why not. So and then just throwing Petrangelo in on some four man stacks, I think is probably a good idea on this larger slate as well.
Yeah, it looks like O'Reilly's getting some ownership, but
Ten
I
percent, like that's not that bad though.
yeah, on a big slate like this, that's not like you can't. It's pretty easy to overcome that with the rest of your lineup if you stack a 7-8% owned line. So
Yeah,
I'm right there with you. They look a little bit underpriced. They're not crazy over owned or anything like
full
that.
power play correlation.
Yeah, the only problem I have with the Blues, these Blues guys, is I try to factor in like how players individually and lines are doing, last 10, 20 games, 25 games, whatever sample size you want to use, just to see like which guys are being active. And like these Blues guys they don't get an additional bump for me for what they've been doing. I'm kind of disappointed in what they've been doing so far as a trio, but that's not to say that they're not going to turn it around against a team that, while they've been better lately, they have been pretty terrible defensively for the duration of the season. So I like
Yeah.
Blues one. I don't know. Maybe we're gonna get another Zach Sanford night. I think I prefer Blues two over these Rangers lines as well when you factor in their ownership and their expected matchups. Yeah, I prefer the Blues side here, and I don't think I'm saying anything ridiculous because they have the higher implied total, and it looks like some more ownership is going to them tonight.
Fair.
Yeah, can't really make a case for too much on the Rangers side, especially with Kreider there, with Kreider gone, and just Blues being really tough. I don't know if you were on when I was saying that, but Blues are a tough team for me to want to go up against.
Yeah. What about any of this St. Louis depth? We've seen some pretty good.
Like, which line are you thinking? You like Blues
Just
four?
yeah. Well, 2, 3, or 4. Like I know
Okay.
the Thomas Perron and Sanford line had some pretty good
Yeah.
numbers, didn't they?
I like the St. Louis too. Yeah, I think I mentioned
Those
them
two.
just a bit ago,
Okay.
but
Cool.
yeah, maybe another Zach Sanford stealing night. Who knows? This guy, he's got 40-point upside in him. Apparently, he's done it a few times this season. Yeah, just keep an eye on out for those Blues defensemen. Pietrangelo done. Whether or not Parayko plays could increase your projection for any of the other D-men there. Let's go to Ottawa and Pittsburgh. 2.5 implied total for the Sens. 4 for the Penguins. The coldest team in the NHL, losing 6 straight. Craig Anderson and Matt Murray. Murray's expected. He is not confirmed. But first of all, do you see any line changes? And then what are you doing with the Pens? Ice cold here, but they've got a 4 total. It seems like a get-right spot. And they're going to be popular.
Total tonight, hey?
Yeah. Biggest total
I don't know, man. I don't know what to do because Hornqvist is now off that second line, which I think makes it a little bit worse. Marlowe, cheaper, but worse. Bluger between Tanev and Rodriguez. That's kind of not a bad filler stack, maybe for a one-off. As well, John Marino and Brian Dumoulin are game-time decisions for them. So if neither one of those can go, I'm sure there's some value that's going to open up. I don't exactly know who that value will be. It's kind of tough to tell between this, whether it's Peterson or who gets. I guess it's really who gets to skate with Chris Letang. So maybe that will be the value. And then on the Ottawa Senators side, Norris is out and Anisimov is centering the top line. So Tierney between Brown and Balsters, and then White between Howley-Ruck and Paul.
Yeah. So I think there's things to like on both sides. On the Penguin side, power play, it looks pretty good, especially with these lines all messed up. Like you only get one guy on the top power play. On the Malkin line, Russ looks like he's bumped down to the second unit. Then Hornqvist line 4 for $6K. Hard to make a case for him outside of just a pure power play stack at low ownership. And then you get Crosby and Zucker apparently on the top power play. Jack Johnson not skating with Letang anymore, so maybe he can actually do something. Cliffy was talking about that on the Friday show. I don't know if you caught that, Nolan, just that his numbers were terrible since they started skating Jack Johnson.
Yeah, I caught that.
So maybe if Dumoulin can play, maybe you give just a theoretical boost to Letang. It's a good spot anyways at 6,700, quarterbacking the top power play unit. So I think the Penguin side is pretty easy to talk about. I don't really love stacking up Marlowe, so I'm going to try to do some weird stuff with my Penguin stacks, sticking to line 1 or power play. And then on the Ottawa side, I'm expecting Crosby, Zucker, and Sheary to see a bunch of time against the Tkachuk line, Ottawa 1. And that's a pretty good matchup. I mean, Zucker and Crosby have been just terrible defensively so far. Crosby this entire season, and this was another thing Cliffy was talking about on Friday, and it held true in their last game as well. His numbers just aren't great defensively this season. And so going with Anisimov, Tkachuk, and Bobby Ryan, you get 2 guys in the top power play. Good even strength matchup based on the sample we have of Crosby and Zucker. And 2.5 implied total. I don't think this is going to be a super popular spot. So I'm pretty excited to play some Ottawa on the other side. What about you?
Damn, I'll take your word for it. I wasn't getting into too much of them, but I mean, we've seen before like that Ottawa 1 combo, no matter who's playing with Tkachuk almost, and sometimes Duclair's involved, but that line just seems to pull big nights out from nowhere. And yeah, this Sheary Crosby's Zucker line has 3.03 goals against per 60 on average, which is pretty bad. So I like where your head's at there, but I don't know. Like I feel like maybe it's pretty small sample size at this point, and those are some talented players. They'll probably get it together.
I think they'll be fine offensively, especially if you get Zucker on the top power play. Nice that they're trying him out there. And it's not like it's a bad matchup for them, but I just think the more fun side as like a tournament player is looking at this Ottawa 1 line and trying to get some Tkachuk, Ryan, and Anisimov, or if you wanted to go pure punt, Colin White for $1,000 cheaper, and power play stack it with Ottawa. That's another way to go. But yeah, it does look appealing for me, even though it is just a really low total. Kachuk's awesome, 7K. I have no problem paying for him in a stack. And then you've got a couple defensemen in Shabbat and Riley that are at least viable for their prices. The deal on the Pittsburgh side, for me, it's pretty much Letang or no one. Marcus Pettersson always projects to get some ownership because he's 3,100 and plays 20-plus minutes, but he's usually a no-go for me on these big slates. Anything else?
Sounds good. No, I think we covered it. I'm like seeing these Pittsburgh lines, though. What's interesting to me about these Pittsburgh lines is that they're not really projected all that well in terms of top 2 stack potential using that tool, which is kind of surprising, right? given the implied total and how reliant they are on these two lines for scoring. So they are going over owned compared to our projections. Not that they're bad plays as a result, but just a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah, for sure. I figured these guys would be up there. They're up there in ownership. I mean, they're up close to the top in top 2 stack percentage, but it doesn't look like they're. I mean, there's a couple teams up near the top, but like outside of that, this slate is pretty wide open. It looks like. So let's go to Boston and Tampa. Pretty fun real life game. Not so much sure about DFS. 2.9 implied total for the Bruins. 3.1 for the Lightning. Tuukka Rask and Andrei Vasilevsky are your expected goalies. Pretty important game time decision on the Boston side. And then what else do we have? Anything on the Tampa side?
Yeah, so of course Stamkos out, Palat moving up to the top line for Tampa Bay. And then that just has a few ramifications. Looks like Chiarelli, Coleman, Johnson between Gordon, Goodrow. So not bad middle six there for Tampa Bay as well. Palat not on the top power play unit. Looks like Sergachev is up on the top power play unit, though. I don't know if that's a new thing or not.
Yeah.
And then on the Boston side, of course, Brad Marchand is a game time decision. So, Boston one's projecting for combined like 1% ownership right now. I don't know if that'll probably go up to like 2 or 3%, but not much. It's a tough matchup and a perceived tough matchup anyways, and they're expensive and it's a game time call. So, large GPPs, I think paying up for Boston one in a lineup or two makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, there's really nothing. So this is another one where it's not a priority play for me, but like you can always make a case for stacking up Tampa one or Boston one, even if it's not a great spot. If the slate breaks right,
and just like especially when they're just going to have zero ownership,
yeah,
right? So
yeah, their totals are always going to be good. They're always going to be expected for around 3 or above 3 goals, regardless who they're playing. So if there is concentrated scoring here, you would imagine it comes from one of the top 2 lines or each team's top line, I should say. Pretty good price on the Tampa side. And then you get Marchand, who is probably going to be really low owned. I don't think Boston's going to be popular. I don't think they would have been popular even if Marchand wasn't in question his status. So if you want to go to either of the top 2 lines, that's fine with me. And maybe Tampa too. But like looking at this game, I have almost nothing. And I wouldn't get to this game if I was hand building. In large field tournaments, like you mentioned, if you just want to go with some Boston one, 5-6% of Boston one and 5% of Tampa one and be around or over the field, then yeah, that's fine. But there's just, I think, way more plays that make my lineups better for tonight at lower prices and not too far off in the ownership projections either.
I like it.
So, my hate of Boston one continues. No, I mean I love Boston one, but we're seeing about as low of ownership as we've had on them this entire season, which is crazy.
And because this game locks a half hour after the other ones, Marchand's ownership is going to be like nothing as well.
Yeah, I mean if you just look at it, like we have Patrice Bergeron at 1.2% ownership, so it looks funny in the top stack tool. They're just going to be under owned relative to their chances of being the top stack.
What do we have for stackable lines with them?
That's always the problem with Boston one, especially when they're on the road. You're not getting a big discount. It's a good defensive team. In Tampa, like I don't know, that's always the problem. I think Nashville's on the slate. You can go with Nashville 4.
Nashville, is that the Grimaldi line?
Yeah, Grimaldi.
I mean, that's always the first place I go. So.
Yep, and then I'm trying to think. I think one of the Minnesota lines, you could probably go with Minnesota 2, Eriksson, Cunnin, and Parise. There's ways to do it. So.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, in terms of the top stacks, so I'm looking at lines that seem to be going under owned that are still kind of cheap. You might look at Islanders 3. 11K on DK, not a bad option. Some scoring upside with Pajot and Bailey there. That's about it for anything cheap though. Maybe Anaheim 2 with the Heinen, Henrique, Sherwood, but it's tough sledding. And of course, Nashville 4. Of course.
Anything else in this game? I mean, are we just off base here? Just kind of avoiding this one?
For what? I'm not avoiding it too much. I'm just gonna have my Boston I'm gonna have like 2 or 3 Boston 1 shares and try and get 5 times the field, and that's how I'm playing this. So
Okay. I want to
yeah,
search in my crunch right now and see if I got to any of this game. I got 1 Boston 1 share and okay.
I
Gotta
have
spell the names
0
right.
Boston 1 and 0 Tampa 1.
I have 3 Tampa 1 out of 150. Out of 150. So are you talking about out of 20?
No, 160. I got running 4-man stacks. I got 0.
It's really difficult to stack these two top lines with 4 mans.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's a
Sergachev
good
or
point.
Krug project that well. So with an optimizer just trying to jam in value, it's really difficult to get to all 4 of those guys when neither of the
Yeah,
lines
yeah.
grade out
Though like
particularly well.
though now with Palat and like I feel like a Tampa 1 stack with Sergachev isn't the worst idea.
Fair enough. Like I said, I'll have a couple shares here and there, but if this game goes off, I might be in trouble.
Fair.
Let's go to Nashville and Minnesota. 2.9 implied total for the Preds. 3.1 for the Wild. UC Saros and Alex Stalock are your goalies. Looks like Minnesota's doing some jumbling. It appears.
Yeah, so Gerald Mayhew, I think we have him listed as on the top line, but he is going to be a scratch tonight. Jordan Greenway up on the top line. Eck between Kunnin, who returns to the lineup, and Parise, Galchenyuk, Zuccarello, Foligno, and then both those lines are the same, I guess. Nashville, maybe just check rushes. They got blown out last night. They obviously didn't skate this morning as a result, so we will find out game time. I don't know if they'll change anything or not.
Do you have any confidence that like any of these Nashville lines will be together outside of maybe the Nashville 4?
I looked last game they stuck together for the most part. Like it wasn't egregious.
Right, but that was late
But
in the game where they just got
I just think
thrashed.
fading Nashville's been pretty profitable this season. So I haven't been on them. Like Nashville 1, is it? Decisions Johansson and Blackwell. Nashville 1, they stuck together, and Nashville 4 stuck together. So
Yeah, people pointing out it was a back-to-back for Nashville. Yeah, they got crushed late in the game by Edmonton to the tune of a 5 and 6 point game for McDavid and Draisaitl. And so I don't know. I'd be looking more at the Minnesota side. I guess I like the idea of the Eriksson, Kunnin, and Parise line. The
yeah,
correlation is pretty poor, and I'm always looking to power play stack against Nashville. So just like logically, probably the best line to go with is Stahl, Fiala. Maybe you go Parise instead of Greenway and just try to stack up Minnesota's top unit. But yeah, I kind of like. I'm gonna have pieces of all of these Minnesota lines, and Minnesota's already a tough matchup. Don't know what the Nashville lines are gonna look like necessarily after getting blown out that bad. So I'm looking to just pretty much avoid the Nashville side here. If you had to choose a line, would there be one you'd look to get to in 20 lineups?
for Nashville.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, it's the Benino line. I love that line.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will have some of them tonight.
I just realized I didn't include fourth lines, so I'll probably. I mean, they're not a fourth line, as I said a number of times yesterday, but they're listed as the fourth line on FC. So just be aware of that. If you don't usually include fourth lines, you're gonna have to include them tonight. So, or you could change their line designations or whatever you want to do. There's a ton of ways to do it. Yossi at 7,100, Ellis 6,100 going into Minnesota. I don't even know if I'll have Yossi. Let's see here.
Yeah, Yossi
I've
not doing it for
11%.
me tonight.
I have 11% of him, and that's more just as a differentiation point.
Yeah, that's
Off
a good
of like
point.
the
And he is a
transfer.
little bit priced down. I mean, I think Brent Burns and Chris Letang are probably looking like your top options.
Yeah,
So if you're as a pivot in your chalkier builds, it's a pretty smart play, I think.
yeah. So that's what it is. It's just a guy who projects well on a raw point basis, maybe not as a as an actual value tonight, but he's just got so much upside no matter what the matchup tends to be. Dumba 4,700.
I don't know. Is
He's
Seth
putting
online?
shots
Ask
on
him.
goal. He's putting shots on goal. No, I'll have Yossi. People are asking me. Yeah, I'll have Yossi. I have like 10% if the slate started right now. So I'm comfortable with
I
that.
like I like Dumbo one-offs.
I do as well. Listed on that second unit, it looks like Minnesota has stacked up the top unit, Suter and Spurgeon quarterbacking, and then it's Stahl, Fiala, and Parise. Fiala's just playing ridiculously well right now. I
Yeah,
think he had like
looking like a good trade right now for them.
yeah, man, he just looks like he's turning into a stud. So let's go on to the Buffalo Winnipeg game. This one we'll have we're gonna have to talk about the Jets top line here for a bit. 2.8 implied total for the Sabres, 3.2 for the Jets. Carter Hutton and Connor Hellebuck are your goalies. Any changes on either side?
So Line is back for the Jets. He slots in on his usual second line spot with Eakin and Ehlers, and then was it Kopp? I think Kopp moves down to the third line there. I think that might be it for the Jets. Buffalo. Take a look on at Victor Olofsson in line rushes. Another not a bad ad at no ownership spot. Pretty solid matchup. Paced up matchup for the Sabres. Porous defensive lines from the Jets. Gonna get a ton of ice time if he goes at no ownership. So there's another spot I think Buffalo 1 might be a nice contrarian play tonight.
Yeah, we've seen Buffalo get blown up a ton of times, but there's probably some merit in going to a Buffalo 1 stack. I did see Skinner skated a bunch with Eichel and Reinhart in, I want to say, their last game or maybe 2 games ago. Not exactly sure. The weekends always get me confused, but so maybe that's an option if you can late swap.
That was because Olofsson left the game.
Okay. Though. Well, there you go. Then maybe don't put Skinner up on that top line. Winnipeg's top line.
Well, put him up there if that's the pivot though. I think right. If Olofsson's out, probably going to be Skinner,
sure.
And he's $1,000 cheaper. So give yourself some flexibility there, though. That's a great point.
Yeah, I would definitely crunch with Olofsson in, and if he doesn't go, then
how good is that line? I think pretty cheap. 4,100 for Skinner, 48 for Reinhart.
Pretty good
Not
price.
bad.
Yeah, 16.
A lot of ice time.
What, 17K there? No, 16K. Anyways, people were saying that Eichel might be hurt. I'm not exactly sure. It's hard for me to factor that into projections and stuff, but Buffalo 1 would be where I'm going on the Buffalo side. Now, Winnipeg 1, it appears that they're going to be very popular. It appears well warranted, their popularity. According to the top stack tool, they're right in line with their ownership in terms of being a top 2 stack tonight.
We have strategy, though.
What's that?
So we got a strategy, though, to beat that.
What's that?
Well, Jake, I'm glad you asked. Buffalo has the worst penalty kill in the league, and Neil Pionk is only getting 5% ownership. So 4-man stacks with Winnipeg 1 make a lot of sense to me tonight.
I agree. I'm not a huge Pionk guy, but 5K in this spot, it's Buffalo and Nashville right there at the bottom. So if I'll play the Minnesota power play, I'm definitely playing some of this Winnipeg power play. They just have way better numbers with Wheeler up there as a wing. Scheifele can kind of distribute, and then Line is, I don't know, for whatever reason, he doesn't make the line great at 5-on-5. So maybe I'm saying something really obvious, but this trio of Scheifele, Connor, and Wheeler we've seen for a number of years do really well at 5-on-5, or at least better than what it was with Scheifele, Connor, and Line, who was just brutal defensively. They're much better. So far, they're probably going to get a good matchup against whoever on Buffalo. And then you mentioned the power play spot, too. There's just not, outside of ownership, I don't see a real reason to get away from playing a bunch of Winnipeg 1. Right now, they're my highest exposed stack. I don't think that's going to change by the time we get to lock either.
No, they're just so cheap. They're going to be my highest exposed stack tonight, too.
Yeah. All right, let's look at other lines in this game. Eakin, Ehlers, Line. I mean, does that do anything for you? 7,400 for Line, not playing on the top line.
I think I'm gonna have that line.
It's a good spot for Winnipeg. So you could see this being a spot where they get it done at 5-on-5, and it just ends up being the second line that scores the goals. I guess they're probably gonna get to avoid some of Eichel, so they've got that going on. But if Eichel's hurt, it's not like Buffalo's a good 5-on-5 team anyways. I don't know. It'd be more like just me talking myself into playing a ton of Winnipeg 2 than like me thinking they're actually that great of a play where I need to get in double digits or, 15, 20%. I don't think I need to get anywhere near that. Talking about this Winnipeg second line. So it's going to be a lot of Winnipeg 1, Pionk, and if you're going on the Buffalo side, just be aware that Olofsson could be out, and then it would probably be Skinner that would pop up, and that would make that line pretty exciting. He might even get the top power play spot as well if that doesn't go to Marcus Johansson. But just keep an eye out for the Buffalo side during line rushes, and enjoy Winnipeg 1 chalk night.
Yeah. What's the case against Winnipeg 1 here? Buffalo, slow pace, not slows it down, not a high total. It's pretty much like power play or bust, for these Jets, right? Like their numbers as a line aren't great. So, you could see them busting if Buffalo doesn't end up taking penalties or their power play whiffs a couple times, right?
Right. You're probably going to need some production on the power play, but I don't really care. Like, I think they've got a really good chance to do that against the worst kill. So, yeah, there's probably a case to be made, especially when you factor in the ownership. I'm just not seeing a strong enough case for me to get off of them.
Fair.
All right, let's go to Anaheim and Chicago. 2.7 implied total for the Ducks, 3.4 for the Hawks. Could be Gibson, could be Ryan Miller going for the Ducks. I think Ryan Miller's their backup right now. He's not hurt, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
but anyways,
he's back.
They play tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. So Crawford going for the Hawks. That is confirmed. Anything new here?
Looks like the same lines from the Ducks, but Hampus Lindholm, game time decision. If he doesn't go, Christian Juice looks like he's getting the power play time. Not a bad punt play for the Bearman. Forgot to mention my boy Lawrence Palute also playing for the Sabres tonight. Bearman, probably I think at the expense of Colin Miller as well. That's another line rush check because I'm not entirely sure that's true. So just saw a couple sites reporting it. And then I think everything's the same from the Chicago side.
Yeah, it looks like a good spot for Chicago. It looks like they've got a decent top 6 rolling here. Cooley, Tays, Saad together. That's not a bad line. And then neither is Doc, DeBrincat, and Kane. Although, now that I'm thinking of it, I don't know if that line has played together. It was Doc, Strome, and Kane. That was a line that I didn't like very much. Doc, DeBrincat, and Kane. Decent numbers in 63 minutes, about average generating chances, but good power play spot for the Hawks. And at least you get 2 guys on each of the top 2 lines on a power play here. So my preferred way to stack up the Blackhawks would be to power play stack. Some combo of Tays, Kubelik, DeBrincat, Kane, and then maybe throw in Keith as well. So 3, 4, 5-man stack that. I was looking for something to make a case for the Duck side. You got Raquel and Getzlaf priced up with Milano. I suppose you can go there. They're all in the top power play. I was just worried a little bit that they were going to be a popular filler stack with a 2.7 implied total and just not being a great team. But anything you like on the Ducks?
I guess they're like good mix and match filler lines. I don't know. Target Chicago, it makes a lot of sense. Probably not getting much ownership. But yeah, like nothing stands out to me. What about you?
No, nothing stands out to me either. I was hoping you could make a case for me, but just the obvious stuff.
One, like pretty cheap. Looks like they've got a decent 3% chance of being one of the top 2 stacks going under owned. Like, I don't think that's a bad place to go.
Yeah, I guess I thought they would be more popular, but with Getzlaf and Raquel priced up a little bit, maybe people aren't looking their way. So it would probably be Anaheim 1, but as you can tell, it's not a real it's not a play I'm really confident in making too often tonight. So I love targeting against Chicago, but with this Anaheim team the way that it is right now, it's pretty brutal to try to go super heavy on Anaheim 1 or something like that, especially when Del Zotto is quarterbacking your top power play unit.
It's Juice, man, isn't it?
Is it Juice? Do we have this wrong?
Son of Pear Juice?
It's going to be Del Zotto or Christian Juice. I know Juice, the analytics people like him. I know Cliffy likes him. I think he disappointed.
Del Zotto. I guess they're split in time, really, so it's about 50-50.
Yeah. Keith looks okay to me at just under 5K, especially if you're going with the power play stack. But the Hawks kind of are what they are. I feel like they're always over-owned. Here, it looks like if you look at the top stack tool, they're actually not too bad. Like whenever Kane and DeBrincat got together, people jump right on him. So maybe going to the top line is the better leverage play at
DeBrincat,
17K.
yeah, like DeBrincat one-offs. I think he projects as our top valued skater on the slate, right?
Wow.
So kind of crazy.
Makes sense.
But
4,600. He's going to get a boost here.
yeah. It seems like most. I'm just looking at the Blackhawks lines. Like 6 of their top 8 lines combos this year with over 30 minutes in terms of expected goals for all have Kubelik on them.
Yeah, he's
or
been
six,
good, man.
6 of 8. Sorry, not all of them. But.
He's found a spot there with Taze. And
Although the worst of that bunch is the one with the combo with Taze and Sad. So there you go.
All right, let's go to the Edmonton Dallas game. 2.5 implied total for the Oilers, 3 for the Stars. Mikko Koskinen and Anton Khudobin are your goalies. Do we see any changes really on the Stars side? Because I don't think Edmonton skated this morning.
Yeah, no skating for Edmonton. Doubt there'll be any changes after that big win. New launch to the Stars. It's Bensigan, Perry, Dickinson, Gurianov, Hintz. Radulov down on the 4th line with Pavelski and Janmark. Though that's kind of interesting because I wonder if that would lower ownership a little bit.
Yeah, it might be another 4th line that you could maybe consider. I don't know if they're going to be treated like a 4th line.
0.5% ownership for Pavelski right now.
Yeah, so you could probably add them in as a trio. So 2 4th lines on a 10-game slate that are viable. How about that?
Yeah, super cheap. That's a great Boston stack right there.
The problem with Dallas is they're a little bit spread out. They use this Faxa, Cogliano, Como line in kind of a shutdown role. If that line had anything going offensively, I'd probably consider them. The McDavid, Ennis, Archibald trio was not great at 5-on-5 last night. Wouldn't expect them to be that strong defensively. But it's just like, you're really going to play Dallas 3 on a 10-game slate? I don't know. I mean, I'm probably looking to avoid that. Sagan and Ben together, it looks pretty good to me. Or power play stack it with one of Pavelski and Radulov if you don't want to add in $3,200 Corey Perry. Add in one of those guys in the 4th line, quote unquote, and maybe even Klingberg. I think you could probably play Klingberg tonight. I can't stand the guy, but 4,200 here. I like Dallas. I do like Dallas here, but I can't really make a strong case for anything outside of the top line.
That's a pretty good call, actually. I wasn't really on them, but the thing is, like Pavelski and Radulov, both on the power play 1 there too, right? So I think you can make a case for power play stack or the top line, or just going like in 3-2-1 stacks, so like Pavelski, Radulov, Klingberg, or Benz again, Klingberg. I think those are solid options tonight.
Yeah. So what you could do, just as a way to differentiate, I know Dallas is popular, but if you think about it in terms of ownership, Corey Perry's at almost double digits, whereas you've got Pavelski and Radulov. Those guys might come in at 1-2% ownership because they're just
Radulov is 3,900 on DK, Jake.
I know that's pretty crazy.
What is happening? And he's not getting owned.
Is he? Let me see here.
What's happening? Like, we need to bump him up. It's
just because he's listed as the 4th line. If they're listed as the 3rd line, like, people play that.
Sign me up, man. Sign me up tonight.
He's played, okay, so Radulov has played 15, 14, 17, 13 minutes his last 4. So a little up and down. But, like, if you knew he was playing 14 or 15 minutes here, including top power play, I don't care. Like, go up against Edmonton 3 and 4. That's a pretty good spot. I know we're digging a little bit deep on a big slate, but it makes sense with those 2 guys in the top power play to at least mix them in and maybe cycle out some Corey Perry in your Dallas stacks.
Yeah, I like that call a lot.
Edmonton on the back-to-back here. Power play stack, Edmonton 2, what is it? Like, Edmonton 2 is pretty expensive against one of the slower-paced teams in the NHL.
Yeah, this is going to be a fade for me tonight just because of I think there's going to be some recency bias. I don't know, I'm assuming that, they're not going to go completely unowned. Pretty tough matchup, not the greatest total, back-to-backs. So, yeah, leaning towards fade here, but I don't know. What's the ownership at here?
It's not actually that high.
Non-existent, right?
Yeah. So that's the thing that's like, all right, well, Dallas does take a bunch of penalties, so they've got that going for them. Edmonton, I think after last night, they got to be at least up there in terms of top power play, in terms of success rate on the season. Like, they've got 2 lines that are viable. I'd be more likely to full stack the Draisaitl line, but if you wanted to power play stack it and just spend way up and jam in one of those 4th lines we were talking about, or one of the deep 3rd lines, Montreal 3 or Nashville, the Bonino line or something like that, There's ways to do it. That's really all I got. Like, it would just be more of a flyer. I'm not expecting anywhere close to a repeat performance from last night for this Edmonton power play.
Fair.
All right. And then I mentioned Klingberg and Hiskinen are two guys I'm playing some of tonight. 4K, 4,200 for Klingberg, quarterback in the top power play, and I like Dallas a little bit. Let's go to New Jersey and Vegas. 2.3 implied total for the Devils, 3.7 for the Golden Knights. Mackenzie Blackwood and Robin Leonard are your goalies. Any changes here?
Yeah, so some new Vegas lines here. I believe Roy is up on Vegas 2. Is that right? Yeah, and Nicholas Roy. And then Chandler Stevenson moves down to the third line between Cousins and Peary. Not a bad little filler stack right there. 2 implied goals for the Devils tonight. So give me some Robin Lehner in that.
Yeah, dude. He let in a quick one last game, and then he just shut the door. You would expect Vegas to roll here. I love the top 2 lines for Vegas. I've been on this team, it feels like, for 3 months straight, just hammering them every slate. It's a big total here. The Hughes line was miserable. Hughes, Palmieri, and Nico was miserable in their last game. I think they're going to have some issues defensively. Probably going to see the most time against Stastny, Marchessault, and Smith. And with no Mark Stone on the second line, that definitely downgrades the line for me. So, and what it also does is you get a more stacked top power play here with Theodore, Pacioretty, Carlson, Stastny, Marchessault. So you get 2 guys in the top power play on each of the top 2 lines for Vegas. Big advantage for the Stastny line, I think, against the Nico line for the Devils. And I think Vegas rolls here. I will be playing a ton of both of the top 2 lines. I will be having power play stacks. I will be having a ton of Shea Theodore as well. Like, just all Vegas here for me.
All right. Vegas, sounds good to me. I'm in.
Someone said Vegas didn't look good against LA, but they haven't all year for whatever reason. I'm pretty sure Vegas held LA to under 20 shot attempts at 5-on-5 and had 70 of their own in that game. So the score did not pan out in their favor, but expected goals battle, they smashed them. And I know they were trailing, so maybe it's a little bit deceiving, because teams will push when they're down a few goals. But yeah, Vegas, there's nothing wrong with them for me that I'm seeing. So I even like the third line. I think you called out Cousins, Stevenson, Brandon Peary.
Yeah, that's got to be cheap, right?
Yeah, dirt cheap if you wanted to go to a Boston one or something like that. Shea, Martinez, Schmidt, it's kind of muddied up with the addition of Martinez. He's been crushing in some of these games.
I'm with Cliffy on this one. I'm just not a Nate Schmidt guy. I just don't think I don't know if the upside's there, but Theodore, I think I'd just rather go elsewhere, but I always want to go elsewhere and he's killing it. So wouldn't listen to me on that one. And then Martinez, that price is up a little bit. I think he's probably overpriced now. Probably overachieving for what he was doing. I think that's going to be
Yeah, I'm sticking to mostly Shea. People asking about New Jersey 3, and then are you worried at all about Blackwood? I guess his numbers are insane really? Last stretch. I mean, that doesn't worry me at all.
Pretty much just trust the Vegas total on that one. It's 3.6 total, so I mean
they're going to be insane until they're not, right? From now on, so he'll get blown up in a game.
But damn, some sick numbers over the past 10 days.
What about Zaka, Bratt, and Gusev? That's a third line that we've talked about a couple times, but it hasn't really been a great slate to deploy.
Did you win the other night, by the way? I saw you up there, and then I didn't pay attention. Was it 2 nights ago?
Sunday. Yeah, I tied for the win.
Tied? Nice, man. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Was it with that Zaka line or it was the Zaka line?
It was with the Zaka, Bratt.
So there you go.
Now I think of it.
You tell me, are we playing them tonight?
I mean, they're really cheap, and they're probably going to avoid the top lines here for Vegas. So who knows how the Cousins, Stevenson, Peary line is going to be defensively. I'm not sure they're going to be very strong. Good
contrarian. Like, if you believe in Blackwood or something, you think he's spitting hot fire. I mean, like, goalies can get hot, right? Pair them up with a Devils 3 stack in a large GPP and no one's going to have it, you pretty much go chalk the rest of the way. And then, of course, Vegas is a little bit weakened with Stone out, right?
Yep.
So there's
No.
certainly a reasoning for it.
I think there's a reason to play them, especially if you are interested in Blackwood, like you said, as a correlation play, and then you
But
just get to choose whoever else you want in your lineup after that.
but they're still implied for 2 goals total. So
That is a problem. So let's go to the final game of the night. Again, if you guys could drop us a like, that would be very much appreciated. It helps us continue to do this kind of content for free. And also, while you're at it, if you could go over to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever you want to call it, give us a 5-star rating. Tell us something you like about the show. In your
Please
review,
do.
drop your handle, drop your Twitter handle, your Awesemo username, some way where we can contact you. If you do that and you review us and you rate us, you'll be entered in to win a free monthly pass of Awesemo Plus. So
also, if you're a basketball guy, we've got a new article out.
the Boom Bust article?
The Boom Bust article.
Right.
Yeah, one of our new content creators, Zach Brenner,
Good call.
has created a article based off of Alex's top tools or top Boom Bust tool in NBA, and it's pretty cool. So
yeah, go check that out. I think that is right up on the home page.
Right
in
there.
fact, let me pull it up for you guys right now. Do you have the link to it? Did you drop it in chat?
I did.
All right, here we go. Yeah, that's my username, by the way. Dan in YouTube chat, that is my username. It's the same thing across the sites, except maybe on Yahoo. I'm not sure if that's my username. So here you go. Boom Bust tool, little article. Go check that out. Is that going to be free forever or just
Free forever. Yeah, it's just highlighting a few of the options, kind of like what we do with a lot of our content, giving away a few nuggets for free.
Wonderful. Go check that out, guys. Last game of the night should be a good one. Maple Leafs, Sharks, 3.5 applied total for the Leafs, 3 for the Sharks. Jack Campbell and Marty Jones are your goalies. Any changes here?
No.
I don't think so either. Kerfoot, Tavares, Nylander, Zach Hyman with Matthews and Marner. One of the lines that looks a little bit underowned is this Toronto 1 line, and I'm not usually a big Toronto guy. It takes a really like smash spot, if you want to call it, for me to have a ton of Toronto, but I'm gonna end up forcing them in here, I think, tonight if I'm not getting to them organically, the power play or the top line, specifically Matthews, Marner, and Hyman. You look at the numbers for this Thornton, Meyer, LeBanc line, they're brutal. You wouldn't expect Couture, Kane, and Gregor to be that great defensively either. Sharks it feels like they haven't gotten blown up as much as we thought they were going to when they had all these injuries. Yeah, they got Couture back, so they're a little bit deeper down the middle, but not a strong defensive core here. And Toronto 1 generates with the best of them. Toronto 2 also has very good numbers. There's just going to be a lot of favorable matchups going around for the Toronto side, so I'm going to end up forcing
just looking
him.
at these Sharks numbers here, like as a unit, they're just not that bad.
Defensively?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the Thornton line is pretty terrible. I think I'm on base with that. Let me check on this. Thornton,
Middle of the pack, pretty much, which is surprising. I kind of expected them to be like at the bottom, but
I'm thinking of wait, where are we at? No, Thornton, Meyer, and LeBanc is brutal defensively, like absolutely terrible. So
interesting.
that's probably going to see more time against the Tavares Nylander line, but I like the power play stack especially. On the Toronto side, I know San Jose has done a good job killing off penalties. You can one-off Matthews, as they say in YouTube chat as well. But I'm more looking at stacks and Toronto top 6, kind of like the Vegas side, although might get less steam because they're not on home ice. Yeah, absolutely love Toronto in the late night hammer here. What about Brent Burns, 7,300, or any of these Sharks stacks?
Yeah, I'm gonna have some Brent Burns tonight. I think he's probably my favorite play. I'm guessing without looking, he's our highest projected defenseman.
I believe he is. Let me see here. Don't want to tell the people lies. He is our highest projected defenseman. Also, I believe our highest owned defenseman, as he should be. Good spot, as always. If you want to pair him,
what a good value at that price. So
yeah.
full point and a half more than the next closest defenseman. So, yeah, we'll be playing DFS tonight like it's 2018. Let's go.
That's right, as we have been with Burns the last few weeks. So I
Hmm.
like it. Tavares Hattie, I would not be too mad about that. I wouldn't be mad about anyone hatting in the top 6 for the Leafs here. I really, really like them. Um, this might be the night the Sharks finally get blown up. We'll have a throwback Marty Jones game from early last season where he lets in 6 or 7 is what I'm hoping for here.
Man, like I know the projections are telling us Toronto. I don't know why I'm like having my reservations here. It's a little first game of a West Coast swing. I don't know.
First, yeah, I mean, don't you not want them on the last game of that though? They're fighting for a
Well,
playoff spot.
time zone though. Time zone. It's going to be 10 p.m. Eastern by the
Okay,
time the puck drops.
fair enough. Fair enough. I didn't
I'm
think
sure
about
it's
that,
nothing.
but
All
Vi-
this stuff is reflected in the Vegas total, so pay no
yeah,
mind to what I'm saying.
I mean, they've just got 2 lines that just dominate offensively, and not dominate, but they're really good offensively, and I don't know. I just think whoever gets to match up against the Thornton Meyer LeBanc line is going to have a field day, and probably both of them because I don't think the Sharks are going to hard match. So Marcus Sorensen, Hattie incoming. Uh, I would not appreciate that, but I think that's all we got. Anything else you want to add in before we head on out of here?
5% Hatties?
5% Hatties. Actually, let me run through Yahoo. Tell the people about Yahoo Daily Fantasy
Does it have
Sports.
does it have to be under a certain price point too?
No, let's just do 5% Hatties. 5% is
All right.
5%. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, one of the most trusted names in fantasy sports. If you want to check out their NHL contest, they're filling up very fast for today. We've got just 2 hours until lock right now if you're watching this live. And it looks like everything is about full. So get in now if you haven't yet. Use promo code Awesemo to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. When you join, check out the golf and NBA contests as well. Lower management fees, less sharks. You guys know the deal. And then for free stuff today, we've got NHL rankings from Awesemo himself. Player and stack rankings. Who's your 5% Hattie here?
You got to go first.
Oh,
I was taking first.
I was teeing you up.
All right.
Go ahead.
I'll take NHL leading goal scorer,
Draisaitl?
David Pastrnak.
Oh, Draisaitl's leading in points. Got it. Pasternak.
He might not.
So you like Boston 1, huh?
I mean, anytime you can take a 45 goal scorer, you might as well.
Fair enough. I will take. Oh, I like this one actually. So I just talked about how I like Toronto 1 a little bit better than 2, but
Marner?
no, Marner's too high. I think Nylander, we've got him for under 5.
Good call.
So
Good call. I like it.
Toronto PP for all the money. All right, guys. It will just be me tomorrow, correct? It'll just be me.
Yeah, just you.
All right, I think we got a 4-gamer, so we'll run through that, review your guys' top lineups from tonight. Hopefully, we'll see one of you guys in the chat at taking something big down. Any goalies you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, nothing like other than Leonard's nothing. Nothing is sticking out to me. So
Yeah, Leonard looks good. He's expensive, but a shutout,
huge win odds. Yeah,
shutout
exactly.
threat for sure tonight. Kind of like Vasilevsky, especially if you're going to Tampa. But yeah, no one really jumping off the page for me. Binnington, I'm getting to some of. It's not a great night for low price goalies, I don't think.
No.
All right, let's get out of here. Thanks for joining, guys. Drop a like on your way out, and I'll catch you tomorrow.